And we are live with the wonderful Thea Lyons. I really should have asked you how to pronounce your name before we started.
I was going to do that first thing, actually. Yeah.
Thea Lyons, but most people call me Thea.
Thea,
Thea,
thank you, and thank you for being so flexible. There was a miscommunication, totally on me, and this was supposed to be 2 hours from now. But thank you for coming on to the show. I told you just before we came on air, I read your book, and I had to immediately purchase it because it's just the perfect timing for this sort of book right before Halloween. So welcome to the show.
To clarify, what Mike meant was he read the synopsis of your book.
Yes.
He didn't actually read the entire book and then buy it.
Yeah, I'd want to know where you got it if you did it that way around.
Oh, brain is not working today. I'm going to hand it over to Ro here soon.
That's a bad idea. Anyway, all right.
So, my brain's not working. This could be a car crash.
So because we had to mess with the time-space continuum and move you 2 hours early, you are actually taking time from a party right now to talk to us?
Yeah, we've come down for a friend's kid's birthday. So
I've literally birthday party. We've ruined a child's birthday party, Mike. That's a new low even for us.
I've left my son with my husband on the bouncy castle, so he'll be fine.
Oh, well, if they got a bouncy castle, that's all good. But we will try not to take too much of your party time. Sorry about that. And sorry to the young child who doesn't have your company. Hopefully someone will at least bring you cake or something as you're sitting under a tree or whatever it is you're doing this.
Well, I left my dessert with my husband, so it's definitely not going to be there when I get back.
Oh, no. Did you bring yourself a beer or something at least?
No, just I do have oh, that's a weird.
Yeah.
Just because it's a black cup, it's picking up it's a cold. There we go. You can kind of see. There we go.
Nice.
What's that, like pewter or something?
No, just ceramic, but it looks like a cauldron. So
it does. Is this like a themed children's party or what? Yes, EL, ruining children's birthday party is low, but that's how we roll.
So I just want to show that I'm conflicted. So I'm drinking my Diet Dr. Pepper, which is very American, I'm told. But we're also going to talk about this, which has arrived, and how the proper way to eat this is.
Yes. So before we talk about your book, Thea, which we had some discussion on a show previously, and we understand that there is a debate on whether clotted cream goes on top of the jam or the jam goes on top of the clotted cream.
I mean, it's like war. So I'm in a British writing group called Team Tea and Books, and one of our 2 hazing questions that we ask newcomers is jam or cream first, and we're pretty split, and it gets quite heated. And I'm of the controversial opinion that it depends on the consistency of the jam. So if it's really runny jam, you're going to have a sticky mess if you try and put it on top. So I put usually the jam on first and then the cream. But if it depends on, if you have to have proper clotted cream though, because if it's the wrong kind, it's too squirty, it just makes a mess. It's not good.
See, there are just so many intricacies in this that we never thought of. I think I'm going to say at least 80% of Americans would just put the cream on top, just because that just seems the way it should happen, Well,
I put this to my cousins when I was in Texas earlier this year, and about half of them just said to me, "What's clotted cream?"
Well, yeah, we have to get over that. We would probably do something horrible like use Cool Whip or something, But
Cool Whip's pretty good, but not as good as clotted cream.
Yeah, it's not, absolutely not. Okay. Now with that, for someone who has not eaten at all yet, breakfast or lunch, you have one book, right?
Yep, so I've got one out and one coming out in 11 days.
And the book that you have out now has only been out since May, right?
Yeah, March. So just at 6 months.
Right. So did you like have them both done and then just release them, put the 6 months in there or what?
So the one coming out this month is a short story collection. So it is a bit shorter. So it's about a third of the size of a novel, which is obviously a lot faster to do. But I wrote these in entirely the wrong order. So I wrote book 2 first.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah.
And the short stories at the same time as kind of a character development thing. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that these happened already into an existing story. So I went back and wrote book 1, which then, so by the time book 1 was picked up, and I think it was picked up August 2022. So I had a good 18 months before it was actually in print then, in which to start writing the next bit. So there's a delay in publishing that lets you write the next one.
So you not doing this independently, you're doing this traditionally?
I'm with an independent publisher. So it's just a small 2-person press.
Oh, okay.
So what were they able to do for you that you couldn't have done as an indie?
Basically, it's the financial support. I don't have the capital to get the kind of editing and cover design that I would want to. And also they do have some contacts. So I'd say in terms of having interviews and marketing, some of the stuff comes from them. Some of it, like this, I've found myself. So it's still, a lot of that side rests with you the same as it would with self-publishing, but you do then have someone paying for the editing and the cover design and sort of helping out, which is really valuable.
Yeah. So there's no like check written to you. There's no advance to you, but you don't have to front all the cash.
Exactly. So there's no advance. It's just a percentage of whatever we make. And but there's no cash up front, so you don't have to have the big savings to pump into it.
Well, that seems like a pretty nice deal because they did a lovely job with the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love them. Elizabeth Leggett is the artist. She does really gorgeous work.
And what's the publisher name?
Bridget's Gate.
You got to spell that.
BRIDGIDS space Gate.
I didn't catch that. BRI what?
I will type it. That should.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Somebody had asked, one of the folks in the chat asked what the name of the publisher is. So
I will see. I think it should let me go into the chat as well, so I can just type it.
So yeah. So the publisher answers a couple of questions, but Brigid's Gate. Okay, cool. Going through, just doing a quick Google search on you, you seem to be very active on TikTok.
I find that it's a strange platform. Oh, someone's already typed it in for me. But one of the things I find helps picture scenes and kind of get the creative juices flowing is making the little videos and the aesthetics. And that really helps kind of ground my head in the atmosphere of what I'm writing. So it's a good procrastination thing. I just like doing it.
How long does it take to put together one of those videos?
Anything from 10-15 minutes to a couple of hours, depending on what I have pre-made and the complexity.
Wow. And you think that's has it proven to be a pretty worthwhile use of your time?
It has. It's good to have something eye-catching, I think, on social media, because just text is easier to scroll past. But also it's something I can do at times when I can't be writing. I need to put more concentration into writing. But if I'm sitting watching a TV show or something, I can also have my phone and be making a quick video or a mood board or something kind of on the side there at 9 o'clock at night when I'm too tired to actually think of words and I want to just vegetate. Yeah,
it's a good use of time, actually. So because I noticed also that you have a lot of really great, despite the fact that your first book has only been out a few months, you've got a ton of reviews on Goodreads and a fair number on Amazon, but you also have some really good blurbs from other authors. Was that something that Brigid's Gate helped you take care of?
No, those were through my contacts.
Oh, nice.
So I'm very fortunate. I belong to a few different writing groups, almost entirely that I've met through the Twitter writing community. And so I've reached out to a few friends and said, if you've got time to read this, would you mind? And I've been lucky that for each of the books, at least 2 or 3 people have come back and said, yes, they have the time to read it. So I've already got people lined up for book 2 coming out in March as well, who are going to put the blurbs on for me. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that's a great, because it seems like for a first-time author, you've done a lot of those things that we all know that we should do, but we just don't, So, bravo. But
I've got a lot of friends who are in different types of publishing as well. So I've got friends who self-published, indie presses, proper traditional publishing, and it's really interesting to see the differences and similarities across the 3 different ways of doing it. But it also helps me then with that wider audience and their knowledge. Like this coming week, we've got 2 events for the launch of Reawakening, and I have various friends who are coming and reading from their fantasy and horror novels from all 3 types of publishing. So that should be really fun too.
Yeah, nice. Do you have a 9 to 5 that you keep up, or are you just writing?
I have a toddler.
Okay, well that's
so that's like a what, 6 till 10. No, I was working, and at the time I wrote The Hiding, I was still doing my 8 till 5. But for about a year and a half now, I've been off being a full-time mom and writing while he naps.
Okay. What did you do before?
I was a finance and contract setup manager, which is about as far from writing as you can get.
Yeah. Wow.
So they did a personality profile on me once, and I answered it in work because it was for a management course. And the person who did it looked at it and she went, "You've answered this with one head, and then when I'm talking to you, I'm seeing a completely different person who's really creative and all that kind of side, rather than this very process-driven personality profile." I'm like, well, yeah, I'm also a writer.
It's
it led to some embarrassing moments in that management course, but
EL asks if do you have a copy of your book with you?
I'm actually sitting in my car, so I don't have the physical copy, but I have it on my laptop, so I can pull up the Word copy.
Yeah, just pull up a random paragraph or so.
Okay, does someone want to give me a page number? I will just pull up something random. What do we go up to in this? It goes up to page... So up to like 1 to 266. Someone give me a page number.
Well, why don't you just do the first page?
Yeah. So the first page takes place in the place on the cover. I have a really cool picture that's the cover of the book next to a picture of the actual place, and the cover artist did it so well. Okay, I'll read just the first 2 or 3 paragraphs. York was famous for its ghosts, but Harper had seen too many demons to fear rumours and trickery. Yet as mist trickled down the cobbled street of the shambles, curled up the sides of wonky buildings, and flowed over her feet, that certainty wavered. The hairs on her bare arms prickled despite the lingering summer warmth. She didn't believe in ghosts, but she did believe in human evil. She rubbed the back of her neck, casting a sideways glance at 2 men in long overcoats who leant against the railing of St. Crux Church. No badges, no uniform, but an air of threat so thick it polluted the air more than noxious fumes of passing cars. Queen's Guard. They were always there, guarding the entrance to the most haunted street in England.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, that gives you about every feeling you want out of an opening paragraph.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
I mean, if anyone's been to York, it practically writes itself. So.
And I and the word wonky is one of those British words that I don't know, Mike. How does that translate for you?
Wonky.
Wonky.
Weird, but kind of in a cool way.
Yeah. to me, I totally get the wonky as off center, right? It's like crooked, tilting, whatever.
I mean, you can see it in the buildings in the picture on the cover here. They do lean like that.
Yeah.
Right. Have you ever been to Lavenham?
No, I haven't.
So you're probably not too far away right now. It's outside Bury St. Edmunds, right? And you have to go down these small roads. But you know the old nursery rhyme, there wasn't crooked man who walked a crooked mile?
Mm-hmm.
Right. The road from a town called Cockfield to Lavenham is the crooked road.
Oh, cool.
And that's kind of where that whole thing took place. And Lavenham is full of buildings that just defy physics, you know. And it's a sweet little, very old market town. It's really nice.
Oh, I love those kind of places.
No, you should definitely check that out. Right. So, what is the whole premise behind the hiding then? Now that we have that look at the first page, what are we getting into?
So it's set in York, England, but in an alternate version. So in their dimension, magic is definitely real. Everybody's aware of that, but it has been illegal for centuries. And the Queen's Guard make sure that there is no magic, and if they find anything that's magic, it's disappeared or executed. And my main character, Harper, is unfortunately a witch. So she has to keep that hidden. And at the same time, she's having these visions of people getting murdered. And at the end of this first chapter, she bumps into somebody and she has this really awful vision of their death. But because if she said anything about being a witch, she'd be executed, she keeps quiet. And of course, they're then killed. And she and her foster sister are asked to investigate because they work for the church. Her foster sister's family are demon hunters. And so she has to investigate this supernatural murder, which she can solve using magic. But if she solves it using magic, they'll try and kill her. So she's kind of stuck in this in-between problem.
So she doesn't have a choice to use. I mean, she's born a witch. That's just something that, okay. Is it something that
with it being that alternate dimension, it's magic is something that's natural in their dimension. People are born with it in the same way as any other talent.
Okay. And when does it present itself? Because I would think it would be very hard for a child not to let people know.
Well, there aren't too many human magic users left anymore because all the bloodlines have died out. So there are groups later in the book, we run into one of them where they have these very insular societies. But without kind of giving too many spoilers, there is magic at play that hides magic. And that is part of what the hiding part of it is.
Well, EL, I don't know. You might be able to. There could be courses. God, man. My point really was with the question of how old they are when they know, because, you know, a 6-year-old,
Harper's really bad.
What's that? Sorry.
Harper's a really bad witch. She doesn't remember anything till she was 13. She was in one of these insular communities and got separated from it. So she doesn't remember finding her magic. And so she does magic very badly.
Well, magic badly is much more interesting than, I think, probably magic done well. You know,
that's what her teacher thinks. She accidentally summons a deception demon, and he thinks it's very funny when she does things badly. It's like, you could have told me I was doing it wrong. It's like, yeah, but that's not funny. It's more funny if you blow yourself up.
So this is billed as dark fantasy, but is it really? Because it doesn't sound it.
It's on that borderline. I write very atmospheric, so it's quite creepy. Obviously, we have this string of murders, and you do see the murders. It's not graphic because I'm a complete wuss. I can't do proper horror. I definitely can't do anything gory. But one of the points of view in the book is the antagonist. So you see the murders through the eyes of the antagonist. And she is collecting organs. So it's definitely straying into that dark side in terms of the murder mystery element.
Okay. So dark theme, but not necessarily graphic.
Yes.
Cool.
I mean, my mom could read it, so.
Mike, you look like you've been wanting to say something, and I've been hogging all the questions here.
No, I'm just making a grocery list up so I can try the clotted cream.
Jesus.
Scones. You need scones.
Yeah, I'm not going to find that here.
Yeah, use an English muffin.
They're not that difficult to bake. There's only like 3 or 4 ingredients.
Somebody obviously been to York.
Oh, lovely. It had to be in York. I mean, I'm from the north of both countries that I'm from, so it had to be in a northern city.
What's the other country you're from?
I'm half American, half British.
What part of America?
So I'm from Michigan. I was born in Michigan, and then we moved here when I was just before my first birthday.
Yeah, good move. You haven't been blocked, DL. This is you. This is a you problem. Glad you made it back, though. Usually you don't get chucked out by now. Okay, so what's next then? You've got the new book coming out, right? Is this going to be a long series, or is there something else that you're kind of looking at working on?
A bit of both. So I'm currently editing book 2. I've had that back from my editor, so I need to get that back to them hopefully by the end of the month, because that's coming out next March. And then I've started on book 3. So I know kind of the broad plot for book 3. I've started working out the details for that one. At the same time, because I'm a glutton for punishment, I have another completed novel that's completely separate to this series that is looking for a home. And that is a book that's a prequel to another series I've already written. And that is what I call cyberfae. So it is like cyberpunk, but in fantasy.
Oh, nice.
So
that would be a nice aesthetic, actually. Yeah.
So is your new series, is that also going to be set in modern times or alternative modern times, or?
It's set in a fictional world, but about 50 years in our future. So it kind of tries to hypothesize what some of the changes will be. My husband and I had a very interesting dinner where we sat and went, okay, from the 70s till now, how far have we come with things? So where will we be in another 50 years?
That is because, and Mike as well, someone who, kind of grew up in the 70s. There have been a lot of shifts.
Yeah.
Especially when in like health and safety type of things, right? Because I mean, the 70s was not a good time for health and safety. It just wasn't.
No.
I remember that people in the 70s used to just littering, right? Was not a big deal. People would just throw stuff out of the car and not even care, right? And so there's good and bad, right? And it almost, if it keeps going the same way the next 50 years that it's gone the last 50, it'll be awful, right? Because in a lot of ways, we've made a lot of good advances. There's also probably a lot of things we've done that have held ourselves back, That's right, Herman. That's the 80s. The 80s was the pinnacle of
the balance between the technological advance and the social and environmental side of things. Like almost like one goes up and the other goes down.
So it's always, I think, risky to do that because, from the 70s to now, who would have said communication? That's going to be where all the advances are. And, we're going to have phones that can connect to networks of data that don't exist yet. I mean, they were promising flying cars and, still waiting on that one.
People haven't figured out how to drive one.
My mom was saving up to be able to make a once-a-month phone call back to Ohio where her mom lived. And now my whole family, we get like 60 of us on a video call.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, when I was in England, I used to call back home and the when you used to get an operator, back in the day, you used to get an operator and you would reverse charges, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're calling collect, and the person on the other end had to say, "Yeah, I'll accept the charges," and that's how we call folks. So
we watch a lot of old sci-fi things in my house, and the number of things that are like far future things, and we've already done them. Like if you look at Star Trek and like the original series, they have their communicators that are basically flip phones.
Right.
And we're way past that.
Yeah.
But spaceships, not so much.
No, that's going to be a bit. Which book is launching today? I don't know that we have a book launching today. Do we?
We have one in 11 days.
11 days, yeah.
Yes, that one. Whoop. Oh, that's doing a weird thing with my hand.
One on
my left shoulder is the one coming out on the 24th.
So The Awakening?
Yes. Look, which we're going to lean. Woo, there we go.
Oh, Reawakening. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to start with a serious question for you.
Okay.
Normally we do silly, but we're going to do a serious one at least once. So we can, we're ruining a kid's birthday party, so we might as well.
We may as well go the whole hog.
How old is the child in question?
1. So, I mean, there's like literally 100 people
there.
This
isn't a child's birthday party then. This is a chance for parents to get together and drink.
No drinking.
What now?
The family in question are Muslim. There's no alcohol.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So
that makes sense then. All right.
Yeah, I don't know if I could tell my 2-year-old if I'd had alcohol. He's very fast.
So what rituals or routines do you have to help you get into the writing, or is it with a toddler you just snatch any second you can get?
Pretty much the latter. It used to be that I would, have time set aside. I could put on some music, light a candle, get comfortable. And now it's like, okay, he's asleep. Let's go. But that was quite a big mind shift when he moved in with us, that I suddenly had to go from like being able to plan, I'm going to have a whole Saturday. I can just, go down to the library, get a big stack of research books, sit and write, have a cup of tea. And now it's like, okay, he's gone to sleep, go. How long can I get before he wakes up? Get as much down as I can.
It's like doing writing sprints, like a bunch of them throughout the day.
It is. And it's weird because the whole time, of course, a bit of my attention has to be on listening for him to make sure he's okay. Is he going to wake up? And so it's like this great blessing when my husband's home and we don't have plans and I can say, right, you two go out for a walk for an hour and I will actually have the space where I can put some music on because the noise won't bother anyone and I can just completely be in my own head.
What kind of music are you putting on when you're writing?
It varies because it's about the atmosphere control. I stop hearing it. Like when I'm fully engrossed in writing, I stop hearing everything. My husband has come in and talked to me before and I've not even noticed he's come into the room. And he's like, Rachel, hello.
That's just marriage. That's
So this week I was listening to the latest Lindsey Sterling album because book 2 has a violin theme in it.
Nice.
Okay.
So
how old's your toddler?
He's 2.5
years.
Yeah, 2.5 years.
Oh, okay. So he's like moving around and getting into all kinds of stuff then. So he
does not like being indoors. We spend most of our time going out on walks and things. So he came to us 18 months ago. We've had him since he was 13 months. He's adopted. Okay. And he was already out of doing a morning nap. We went straight into just the afternoon naps.
Oh,
so
right.
An hour and a half to 2 hours. People keep saying to me, he might stop napping soon. I'm like, no, he cannot stop napping. That is when I work.
He will be going to high school and napping.
We go out for runs. I get him tired.
Smart.
Yeah, and you had no ramp up. That's a hell of a way to do it.
So for you, what is the hardest part of writing? Is it the editing? Is it finding the time to write? What is the hardest thing for you?
I think the hardest thing is like the second draft, because my first drafts tend to be a complete and utter nightmare. I have a rough idea of what's going on, But then my characters will go, no, we don't want to do that. Like, can you please just go over there? Because there's a thing over there you need to see. So go look at it. Like, no, we want to go down there. That alley looks more interesting. I wrote a romance, and it's 2/3 of the way through the book before I could get the characters to kiss. I was like, come on, I keep giving you opportunities. What is wrong with you people? So when I go back then to the second draft, I have to try and straighten out all those deviations that the characters have wanted to put in and make it into like a proper coherent story and make sure that the beginning now makes sense with where the end ended up. So that's when I end up with Post-it notes all over my wall and I look like I'm doing one of those crime-solving mysteries.
Do you end up like cutting out a lot of your first draft, or do you add to it?
I tend to add to it because the first draft is somewhat dry and factual. So I'll have some paragraphs where I've really managed to get into it and I've got my atmosphere and I've kind of got that part down. But a lot of the time I'm just trying to get the plot and the basics of the conversations and where people are down, and then I can go back and make it pretty later. I was almost fashionably 2 hours late, so.
Oh. So I have a question. I was looking at my silly questions, and this one seems kind of perfect for your book and your character. If your main character were to replace Watson in Sherlock Holmes stories, how would it change the narrative?
Ooh. Well, I think she'd be a bit more argumentative to start with. She would be like, okay. But also I think the magic would interfere because Sherlock's going through this very logical way of doing it. And she'd be like, can we just skip to the end? I've already had this vision of it, so I want to go that way. But she does work with a scientist. One of the things I like in general is that if you have contemporary or futuristic fantasy, then you get to mix technology into it. Mm-hmm. So I do like that juxtaposition of I'm going to be logical, I'm going to go through this scientific fact, and then my main character and her sister are much more gut reaction kind of people.
See, now I have not read your book, but I'm just envisioning, Sherlock Holmes going, let's deduce this or that, and your character going, but it's her. It's her. I saw it. It's her.
Yeah, and he'd be going, well, I mean, we've got a body here that has no visible way of it being killed. There's no signs of trauma. There's no signs that something like they clearly haven't had their throat cut or strangled or anything like that. So there must be some kind of poison or internal thing. And Harper's going, no, they just didn't leave any wounds. She just literally reached in, took out his vocal cords and killed him. There's just no wounds. And Sherlock would be like, well, that's completely illogical. Like, I know we have, once we take out everything that's impossible, whatever's left, no matter how improbable, but that's just impossible.
I tend to think of Sherlock Holmes, though, as someone who would be open to the idea of magic.
But in a lot of them, there's things that seem magical, and then by the end of it, he's debunked it.
But that's why I think he would be open to the idea. If he couldn't logically wrap his head around what else, I think he would, just like the Spock quote that you had there, whatever's left must be it, right? And I don't think he would shy away. I think that would intrigue the hell out of someone like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I think he would then be the one who's going, right, how can we experiment on this a bit and find out more about it?
Right.
Especially depending on how much opium he'd had. I mean, he'd enjoy the violin bits.
Yes, yeah, right. All right. Mike.
I didn't do it.
I think you should take her character and give him a weapon or an item.
Okay. So have you seen our show before?
I've seen a couple of them, yeah.
Have you seen the Bulb Dome? Okay, so we're going to take your main character.
Yeah.
And your main character's name again is, please remind me. Harper. She is going to be transported to a magical place, but the rules of your world are still going to hold. So her magic, she still has her magic. So she has been transported to, we just did that. How about a remote village nestled in the Misty Mountains? She has
Mountains of Tolkien or the Misty Mountains of Led Zeppelin.
Yes, whichever one you want. This is Thea's story, so she can decide. You have, what's your favorite color, Thea?
Purple.
Sorry, Thea. Okay, so Harper has a purple fizzy potion, but she does not know what it does. But if she uses it or if she throws it on the adversary, it's 100% it will work, whatever it is. She can choose to use it or not. Now, this is where you get a choice. Harper can have just a common item, or she can have a weapon. If she gets a common item, she will face a common animal that actually exists. Or if she gets a weapon, she will face a fantasy creature.
Oh, let's go weapon. I mean, her foster family are demon hunters. It's what they do.
Okay, so you decided not to go for a shovel. And instead, you get, one. What is one? A longsword.
Nice.
Okay. So instead of facing a jaguar,
it's a jaguar.
Yeah, whatever. I'm from Kentucky. I add and delete all the time.
No I in jaguar.
Jaguar. She has to face a dragon. Okay. This
what is specific on the dragon?
A massive dragon. That's what ChatGPT gave me. So this is up to you. It doesn't necessarily have to be combat. Just what would happen if Harper found herself in this situation? How would this play out?
Is it the kind of dragon that can talk? Because her first instinct would be to try and talk to it and to check if it was sentient or not.
It is your story, so you tell us what happens. So I'm going to go with yes, it talks. It sounds like a couple of grumpy old men.
Put on your DM hat, Mike. Come on.
So it's at this village. Does it live there? Is there any problem? Like, are we just having a nice cup of tea?
The dragon has just arrived, and he is out of clotted cream.
Shocking. Let's go shopping then. We will go into the village and see if anyone has a cow.
Okay, so longsword not necessary?
Unless the shopkeeper gives
Depends
you
how grumpy it is about running out of cream.
Ooh. So Harper is not necessarily just charge into the breach. She's going to be more let's talk it out sort of thing.
Definitely. I mean, they will fight, and if there's something that is actively attacking them or like something has been killing people, then they will go, and they have taken care of that. But the more that it happens, the weirder she feels about it, because she's aware that she's kind of on both sides. She's human, so she's on that side, but she's a witch, so she should be also on the supernatural side, and something that has sentience and possibly a very good reason for being upset. She'd rather negotiate and try and find a way to help than have to vanquish it.
I would assume because she has to hide the fact that she's a witch all the time too, she's not going to be like, hey, let me show you what I can do.
No, and at the beginning of the book, she's not aware that there are any other magical users around, because everybody thinks that they're extinct and they're all hiding in their own little bubbles.
Yep. So, okay. We do this because we want to learn about your character and we don't want you to give spoilers. So, I did have another question I wanted to ask. Well, multi-part question. What is your favorite holiday and why? And how would the presence of Harper at that holiday change it?
So it's a toss-up between Christmas and Thanksgiving. Obviously, they do have Christmas, but they're British. They don't get Thanksgiving. This is the best thing about being binational. You get 2 sets of holidays. And my son is also Jamaican, so now we have 3. It's great.
What's the third one?
Pardon?
What's the third one?
American, British, and Jamaican.
Yeah,
so we get all 3 sets.
What's the Jamaican holiday?
well, they have a different Independence Day of their own. They have Heroes Day, which I think is a fantastic concept for a holiday, just of national heroes of Jamaica. So we're in the process of learning. But nice. Let's go with Thanksgiving, just to give Harper one that she's not familiar with, because I love the fact that Thanksgiving doesn't have a focus other than just having a great time with your family. And I think that would be a difficult one for her, because you're getting all the big family together and she doesn't have one in terms of a blood family. She doesn't remember them. She's kind of worried that they kicked her out and don't want her. So she has very mixed feelings. But her foster family are her family, so they would have an absolutely massive meal. And she would feel obliged to show up with lots of food, because you can't go somewhere and not take something. So we would suddenly be having additional Colombian and British dishes brought into our traditional American Thanksgiving dinner.
Nice. That could end badly.
I mean, the more the merrier. So, I mean, one of the things my mom likes about having married a British person is that she never had to compromise on what she thinks Thanksgiving dinner should be. All of my other aunts and uncles married people from other backgrounds and had to introduce new dishes, and mom's like, mine is pure.
So what would a British person bring to a Thanksgiving dinner?
Well, they find Thanksgiving dinner really weird, because
yes, they do.
They think it's too sweet, because we're having things like sweet potato, and then there's marshmallow and brown sugar, and they're like, what on earth are you doing? Why is there jelly, America Jello, on this table with our turkey? What are you even thinking with this? And then you still have dessert afterwards.
I've been married for almost 34 years to a British woman, and she still isn't really down with Thanksgiving. It's just one of those things, kind of like,
No, so I think Harper will be there being like, okay, I'm going to take some notes on this. This is an interesting cultural thing that I'm going to study, but I find it a bit weird. Mind you, they'd find it very weird, because they have alternate history, and part of the alternate history is that a lot of the colonization didn't happen. So even their America wouldn't have Thanksgiving, really.
Well, Thanksgiving has...
Oh, the men watch the football. We just my dad always tapes a game that Michigan is in and saves it for Thanksgiving.
Onto the college stuff, huh?
Mm-hmm. We only get limited stuff that he can get without having sports channels, so he just finds something randomly that's on. If it has Michigan or Ohio, that's great. If it's Michigan versus Ohio, then things get fraught.
Yeah.
So,
Thanksgiving deserts are legend. Well, a Thanksgiving desert would be a place that doesn't have Thanksgiving,
Now, there's an interesting fantasy concept. You have deserts for holidays. So those people who are grumpy and Grinch-like can just be like, right, I'm going to the Thanksgiving desert. I don't want to see any of you.
That's right.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, I knew you'd like that, Mike.
You are the Thanksgiving Grinch.
Mike is the everything Grinch.
Yeah, but at the end he comes around.
Oh, don't get my theory on the Grinch. That's just this very sad tale that we tell children, and it's horrible.
Well, I can recite most of it. Let's not go there.
I want to know.
So you have a guy who's living by himself. All he wants to do is hang out with his dog, and these damn neighbors just sit there and keep singing and causing noise and racket. So he tries to get them to stop, and they will not. He goes to drastic measures. He ends up, Stockholm syndrome sets in. He ends up liking them, and then what happens? His heart grows 3 times as large as wood, which is an obvious health condition, and the guy's going to die as soon as the story, right after the story ends. It's a tragedy.
He's obviously eaten too much. Too much of that red meat.
So,
how are you still single?
It's a mystery.
There's so much romance there. Oh, my battery is running low, by the way, just because I'm sitting in the car, so I'm not plugged in. So just so you know.
Well, we're kind of coming up to that time anyway. So that what it is, everyone, is Thea has someone like, this is like a bad first date. It's like, okay, call me at 45 minutes, if anything.
Yeah, this is bad.
The Grinch, the sympathetic hermit. All right. Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Are you still there, Thea? Okay. So I guess maybe we are done.
Wow. We've not had someone leave that way before.
All right. That was interesting. Car battery's dying. Gotta go.
Well, Thea, thank you for being a trooper. This was supposed to happen 2 hours later. She was a trooper for jumping in when she did, so we really appreciate it. I've already bought the book after just reading the description. Buy her book, and thanks, everybody.
Yep. What do we got? What's next, Mike? Who's?
Oh, now you're asking me questions I don't know. Our next one is not until Thursday next week, and it is with AJ Calvin. Look at that. My memory works every once in a while.
How about that? Thanks, everybody, for joining us on a Saturday. I know it's a little odd. And thank you, Thea, for joining us. And yeah, buy your book. And we will talk to you all on Thursday. Have a good weekend.
Okay. And